All right, good morning, everyone. Hope you all had a good breakfast. Welcome, everyone, to Hackathon 2022 webinar, FinTech in Malaysia, Trends and Recent Developments. Today's webinar is brought to you by Jewel Digital Ventures and 1337 Ventures in partnership with ASNB. And our speaker for today's session is Wilson Bay. Wilson is the president of the FinTech Association of Malaysia and also a co-founder of Policy Street, an award-winning digital insurance company which advances inclusive and innovative embedded insurance through technology. Policy Street is a digital reinsurer and general insurer licensed by Labuan FSA and the first homegrown insurtech approved by the Central Bank of Malaysia as financial advisor and Islamic financial advisor. The firm leverages on its proprietary technology to develop, customize, and distribute innovative insurance products for leading tech unicorns, listed companies, emerging affluents, and the underserved segments. Backed by leading regional investors, Policy Street's mission is to make insurance protection simple, easy, and affordable in Malaysia and Southeast Asia. Policy Street is recognized as an emerging giant in Asia by KPMG and HSBC in 2022 and a top 10 insurtech company in Asia by the Insurance Business magazine. Wilson leads the commercial, sales, and partnership team, and he plays an instrumental role in structuring, negotiating, and securing strategic and revenue generating insurtech partnership and deals with leading organizations, to name a few: Foodpanda, Shopee, Grab, Kasem, CTOS Digital, leveraging on Policy Street's product innovation, technology, and underwriting capabilities. All right, now let us bring our Wilson on stage.
All right. Thank you so much, Wei En, for the very kind introduction. And I'm also the president of the FinTech Association of Malaysia, having been elected in the annual general meeting of the association in May this year. However, I have been also serving in various capacities in the FinTech Association of Malaysia since the establishment of the association in 2016, which was a good 6 years back. And today I'm very excited to be able to share with the participants of Hack Attack, organized by Jewel Digital Ventures and ASNB, because this initiative is something close to my heart. I believe Hackathon would be able to produce and develop many tech talents, many great business models and ideas, which may potentially eventually flourish as the next unicorn in Malaysia and also in the region. So today, from my correspondence with Azlin as well, I will do about 30 minutes or so on sharing on the fintech landscape and growth in Malaysia. But more importantly and more excitingly, I hope to be able to engage with you. I saw that there are close to 70 people in these sessions. If you have any pertinent questions, if you have any input which I would be able to offer and give, I would like to take the rest of the hour to discuss with all of you. So what I will do now is to share screen. I prepared a few slides to share with all of you. All right, can you see my screen? Are you able to see my screen, Wen?
Yes,
Yes, right. Okay, cool. Let me do it again. Right. So I will share with you the trends and recent developments for the entire fintech landscape in Malaysia. I would say that 20 years ago, when you first started working, there are a few highly crowned jewels in your start of a career. The likes of banking, investment banking, management consulting, oil and gas, FMCG, legal professions. I think these were highly sought after job opportunities 20, 30 years back. However, I think today with technology advancement, the market has changed significantly. Of course, a lot of these jobs and professional opportunities that I mentioned are still very lucrative in the market. But I believe financial technology, which is a convergence between financial services, may it be banking, capital markets, insurance, remittances, payments, assets, management, is able to merge or consolidate or converge together with technology such as AI of the world, blockchain, cloud computing, and also big data. So this is where in Malaysia and also globally, there have been so many great developments in fintech, and I will run through with you in the next 30 minutes or so what are some of the very important updates. And the objective of the session is hopefully after my sharing, you will have a broader overview of fintech in Malaysia, and hopefully it will be able to give you certain inspirations for your business model enhancement, for your market penetrations approach, and also a deeper understanding on some of the important regulatory framework. So this is what I will go through. Number one, I will introduce a little bit more about the association because the work of the association is heavily tied to the development of the market. And of course, I would like to also introduce a little bit more about myself, but more on my experience. Secondly, is on the trends and development on fintech in Malaysia. So as you can see on this slide, in May this year, FAOM, the National Platform for FinTech Development in Malaysia, elected the latest batch of ExCos and committee members. We are a group of senior industry leaders who are entrepreneurs, who are senior operators and executives, who are advisors in the fintech landscape, and we volunteer our time to serve in the association because all of us we have our daytime job. For example, you may have heard about the introduction earlier. I am a co-founder of a digital insurance company, Policy Street. We are licensed by Bank Negara as a financial advisor, Islamic financial advisor. We are also licensed by Labuan FSA as a digital reinsurer and offshore general insurer. We advance simple, easy, and affordable protection for digital economies, underserved markets. For example, all 60,000 Foodpanda riders on the street are actually insured through Policy Street technology and also product proposition. And before that, I was attached to the largest bank, Maybank, which is also the largest listed company in Malaysia. And coincidentally, Maybank is also owned by PNB. And I was serving the regional team, helping conglomerates in Indonesia, such as the Salim Group, the DCC Group in Thailand, First Pacific in Philippines for the regional expansion. And I'm also joined by a couple of other senior industry leaders in FAOM. We have Farah Jafar, who is my VP. He's a Chief Communication Officer and MD in Fusang. Fusang is based in Hong Kong, and they have offices in Labuan, Kuala Lumpur, and many other places. They are a leading digital assets company. And I also have John, who is a partner in Zico, and Anil, who is a group treasurer for Silver Lake, and he is also our treasurer. I have Arvin as well. Arvin is the co-founder and CEO of Hula. Some of you may have used Hula before. They are a buy now, pay later operator. Arvin has been instrumental in driving the CCOB, the Credit Consumer Operating Board subcommittee under FAOM, which I'll share more. We used to have Calvin, but Calvin has left Fantastic and joined another digital bank. So he's no longer on our board. But we also have Eddie, who is from an insurtech company. We have Jising, who is the head of Azure in Microsoft. So for all FAOM members, the participants and members are able to access up to 120,000 US dollar worth of Microsoft credits to obtain all these software licensings facilitated by Jising. And we have Mark Fong as well, who is from FWD. We have Mukesh, who is a former CEO of an insurer company. And last but not least, we have Nomura-san, who is a GM of the Islamic Digital Bank. So this is the ExCo members of FAOM. And we focus in 5 core pillars. Number one, talent development. And hence, this Hack Attack initiative is something very close to FAOM because we believe it is instrumental and it is very important to be able to develop as many fintech talents as possible. And this is where we are working with Joe Digital. We are working with a few private institutions to spur more talent development in Malaysia. And secondly, we also facilitate market entry and expansion for fintech companies in the region, both in inbound and outbound. By end of the month, I will be heading down to Singapore to sign an alliance formation with all fintech association in the region. It's called One ASEAN Fintech Alliance, whereby we will also be able to tap into the insights of fintech in the Philippines, fintech market in Singapore, in Indonesia, when it comes to licensing application, when it comes to business expansion. So this is something that after this hack attack, I will speak to Azlin as well. We are happy to explore how we can work together to support your ideas, to support your market entry and expansion locally in Malaysia and also beyond the shore of Malaysia. Third, we also facilitate investment funding opportunities because we are very close to VCs, PEs, family offices, and a certain government funds as well. And fourth and fifth is more on adopting the right technology because we believe that technology is always an enabler. We don't come here to hard sell technology, and hence you are doing this hackathon initiative is to hack based on the trouble, based on a problem, based on the market opportunity. Technology is always a byproduct on the real market needs, and we believe that. And last but not least, I personally am a big believer in this. Fintech is very different from other industries. It is heavily regulated, may it be the regulations by BNM or by SC or other authorities. We facilitate many roundtables, intimate sessions, engaging sessions with the regulators from open API to the digital banking framework to the digital insurance discussion paper with the relevant authorities to ensure that our members and also the market has the right awareness on regulations. So this is how we organize ourselves as the association. We focus in 7 key pillars, and this number of industry pillars would continue to grow more. Today, we consolidate digital banking and Islamic banking together, and we also are focusing heavily in digital assets and blockchain. In fact, tomorrow at 4 p.m., we are going to have a session on digital assets. I think digital assets is something very interesting, powered by blockchain technology. I will share across the link as well. Feel free to join. The digital asset session is open to both members and non-members. Third, digital insurance, a vertical which is close to my heart as I run an insurtech company. Digital insurance, in my opinion, is going to be the theme for fintech growth in the next 24 months to 36 months in Malaysia and also in the region. As you know, 5 digital banking licenses have been given by Bank Negara on 30th April 2020 on the eve of Hari Raya celebrations that particular week. And moving forward, there will be a lot of attention and scrutiny and also interest in digital insurance because insurance industry to me is a very traditional one. It has many areas to be disrupted, and the upcoming DITO framework, Digital Insurer and Takaful Operator framework, will provide a lot of opportunities for new players, for tech companies, for insurtechs to disrupt and also to enable the insurance industry even more. And fourth, we also do payments. Payments is a very important infrastructure for any fintech advancement. And I have to say that PayNet is doing a fantastic job by having our single QR initiative, our Do It Now initiative, and now the cross-border payment initiative is also being implemented. Did you know that if you were to use your e-wallet to a certain parts of the countries, for example, in Thailand, you are able to actually scan using your e-wallet on some of the merchants in Thailand, and you are able to do cross-border payment seamlessly. So this is a power of payment in my opinion. And of course, we also facilitate an advanced regulatory tech or short term as RegTech. It's very crucial where we use machine learning, artificial intelligence to help regulation to be interpreted and adopted in a more seamless manner. And 6 is more on alternative financing, the likes of equity crowdfunding, the likes of peer-to-peer, the likes of digital assets fundraising. This is the form of alternative financing, which to me democratizes the level playing field for smaller companies, SMEs, to access into credits, funding, and financing in a broader spectrum compared to before, whereby, for example, if a creditor turns down on the application, it is the end of the story for these smaller companies. And last but not least, we also work very hard to ensure that our members are able to adopt the relevant technology from AI, big data, and cloud. And I'm very excited to partake in the judging session in the end of the month to hear your presentations. How are you going to adopt certain technology in your hackathon sessions to address some of the pertinent issues facing the market? So I won't bore you with this. This is just an example of an initiative done by FAOM, supported by Bank Negara, PayNet, Silver Lake, and Microsoft. After I've taken helm as the president, the first 100 days has been very eventful. These are just a snapshot of what we have done. In fact, this list has been ever expanding. Averagely, on a monthly basis, we have 6 to 8 events. 2 weeks ago, I hosted the Chief FinTech Officer of Monetary Authority Singapore, Sopnendu, in Bangsa, where we did a World FinTech Festivals together as well. And at the same time, I also facilitated the promotion of FinTech Festival Philippines to help more Malaysian companies to expand abroad. So this is a snapshot. I think what is interesting is as an association today, we are working with Microsoft to enable members to access their global programs and benefits. We have also signed MOU with KPMG Malaysia to tap into their global network and expertise to advance FinTech Malaysia. CCA, I'll come back to you on that. I'll explain to you what is CCA, Credit Consumer Act, who are the industry impacted, and what FAOM's stance is on this. And I have also hosted a director of Bank Negara at Singapore at the world's largest InsurTech event to talk about the future of digital insurance over a fireside chat in Singapore in June. And we have also onboarded Carson, Malaysia's first tech unicorn, to be part of FAOM. And we also facilitated fireside chat with CAF Investment Bank, who is the lead consortium partner for one of the digital banking licensees. And the rest will be self-explanatory. I think what will be interesting is we have also signed an MOU with Malaysian Takaful associations to advance Takaful and Islamic insurance industry. I believe Malaysia as a market is well poised to be an Islamic fintech hub, a Takaful hub that can be set as a global standard and example for many other players. However, of course, many more works has to be done for this. So now I will go a step further to talk about the fintech landscape in Malaysia. Credit to my good friend in FinTech News Malaysia. They have done a great work to piece together the Malaysian fintech map. Today, I think there are more than 300 fintech companies which are tracked by FinTech News Malaysia. The list is very similar to our own tracking. As you can see, payment is the dominant vertical. Many payment fintech companies are in Malaysia, and this is not surprising because payment is the basis or the basic of an infrastructure to power up financial innovations. And secondly, lending, borrowing, lending, financing is also very crucial because payment and lending, these are two key functions of any banking institution, any financial institutions. And followed by remittances. What is interesting to point out is on InsurTech. In 2021, if you refer to the same map, the number of InsurTech is actually half of 32. I think they were only 16 or 18. But in less than 1 year, the number of InsurTech has grown to 32. And my another hat as a co-founder of Policy Street, being a pioneer in the InsurTech landscape in Malaysia, having started the company 6 years back, and also being the first homegrown InsurTech to be awarded a Bank Negara FA and Islamic FA license. We have seen how the market grows, but I believe that there's a lot more opportunity in the market, and we are very excited about that. So this is a breakdown in terms of the entire fintech landscape in Malaysia. As I mentioned, payment is the dominant one, is the biggest. I believe it will continue to stay that way for payment because there will be a lot of evolution coming up from PayNet in the next 1 to 2 years as well. Lending, I believe this is also part and parcel of alternative finance that I mentioned earlier. For example, peer-to-peer lending, to me, is an innovation. And did you know that Malaysia, our regulator Securities Commission, is one of the first in the world to regulate peer-to-peer lending in the market, and this is why today we have about 10 peer-to-peer licensees, which are able to facilitate peer-to-peer lending, helping micro SMEs, helping SMEs to access credit and financing by tapping into lenders, individual lenders like you and I, who put in money through the peer-to-peer platform. So this to me is something very innovative. E-wallet, I'm seeing a consolidation phase in e-wallet, um, uh, purely because e-wallet on its own, in my opinion, would not be the most ideal business model. Usually, e-wallet has to be tied to a larger ecosystem. The entire value proposition of e-wallet must create stickiness. For example, touch and go e-wallet, it is linked to your parking fee payment function. It is linked to the toll road payment RFID for Plus. So this creates stickiness. Same goes to Grab e-wallet, right? It ties to your Grab ride, it ties to your Grab food delivery, and hence the daily usage for certain e-hailing is higher. But I'm seeing a consolidation in the e-wallet space. InsurTech, WealthTech, these verticals are growing. Remittance, I believe it was very challenging during COVID because everyone was stuck at their home country. It was very hard to travel across border. But I believe remittance is also a vertical which will be growing. Islamic fintech, in my opinion, definitely this is a vertical that for Malaysia should take full advantage to grow Islamic fintech, maybe Takaful Insurance, maybe Islamic fintech to the next level. So this is all in all the entire interesting landscape of Malaysian fintech. I would say that the entire fintech landscape in Malaysia has been growing in a very exciting manner. I still recall in 2015, that was when I was still working in investment banking, and I co-started the fintech community called Next Money or Next Bank, which was part of the global fintech community. And this community eventually morphed into the Fintech Association of Malaysia today. But at that point of time, fintech was still at an infancy stage. Many people was asking, is fintech just a hype? Is fintech just a buzzword? But today, it is safe to say that fintech has become part and parcel of our daily lives. And I don't think we can live without fintech in our daily lives. From your daily banking operation to your daily FMB requirements to your facilitations of your investment, your facilitation of your protection, your entire life stages will be further enabled with the power of fintech. And I believe this is also one of the problem statements given up by Jewel Digital Ventures in collaboration with ASNB, whereby the question will be how can we offer inclusive finance and inclusive protection to the mass market, to the B40, to the underserved SMEs and also individuals in this country. So, looking forward to hear your ideas and also presentations. And and having said that, I think what is exciting in the fintech landscape in Malaysia is because the narrative of the growth of financial sector is already established, and our central bank is entirely committed to grow digitalization in financial sector. Um, you can download Bank Negara 2022 and to 2026 financial sector blueprint. It's a few hundred pages thick document, but of course you can also read the executive summary, which I've kind of prepared for you. Essentially, in the next 5 years, you will be riding on a wave where there will be a lot of macro push for innovation, for digitalization, for new business models, for insurtech, for fintech, for capital markets in Malaysia. So Bank Negara's key objective number one is to future-proof key digital infrastructures, including data ecosystem. This is where open API, open banking framework comes into play handy. You can also Google GitHub by Negara. In fact, there are certain open API that you can access to facilitate open data and open sharing. This is also arising from certain fundamental frameworks released and came into the picture. For example, the ICTF framework, the Interoperable Credit Transfer Framework, similar to the PSP 2.0, PSD 2.0 in the European region. Payment and settlement systems, how we can facilitate a faster, a cheaper, a better, and a safer payment and settlement systems. Digital identity, which is a key project, and internet connectivity. So this is where the future proofing of key digital infrastructures is being pushed by the central bank. And there will be a lot more support to be given to create a more vibrant digital financial services landscape. I think today, if you are working as a digital financial services operator, it is very exciting to be in, because you'll be able to foster new innovation at the same time preserving financial stability. I think in the fintech market, we are very different from logistics, very different from e-commerce, because it has strong bearing on the entire market stability, and hence innovation has to be done in a very responsible manner. And this leads me to my third point. Strengthening of cybersecurity is crucial. And of course, the regulation part is also important. However, the question will be, the regulators, they are also stepping up. They are also enhancing the way they regulate innovation, whereby they talk about and they adopt a greater use of technology for regulation and supervision as well. So the desired outcomes and targets for 2026 has been clearly stipulated. Number one, to advance financial inclusion for Malaysia, to advance finance for transformation for livelihood of the many in Malaysia, and third, finance for sustainability and prosperity for Malaysia as a whole. So there are some of the key targets and milestones that you can also refer to. Uh, uh, the target is to narrow the gap between Malaysia OECD financial literacy scores. In my opinion, financial literacy plays a very important role, and this is why Jewel Digital Ventures and ASNB are also heavily investing and also contributing towards improving the financial literacy among Malaysians. Increase in e-payment per capita at a CAGR of higher than 15%. Insurance takaful and penetration rate of 4.8% to 5%. Doubling of subscribers of microinsurance. As you can see, there's a lot of mention about insurance initiative. Enactment of Consumer Credit Law and Oversight Body, which is CCOB. I will talk about it later. Single licensing regime for financial advisors and financial planners. So today, financial advisors is governed by Bank Negara. So today, my company, we are governed by Bank Negara. However, my counterpart who is doing capital market advisory as a financial planner, they're governed by Securities Commission of Malaysia. Today, you have to go to apply both licenses from two different regulators. However, moving forward, under this FSB blueprint, it will be consolidated as one licensing regime. So my company would be able to also facilitate investment or capital market advisory, having the license from Bank Negara. And of course, steady growth in alternative finance, channel to new innovative enterprises, faster, cheaper, more accessible cross-border payments, and more than 50% of new financing for green and transitioning activities, and steady growth in VBI, which stands for value-based intermediation aligned assets. So as you can see, for the FinTech Association, we do not just simply govern our core pillars on our own, nor we do not just simply set up industry verticals as we wish or as we like. We organize ourselves to be aligned with the key targets and milestones of our key regulator. And this is also how I am future-proofing the relevance and also the impact of the FinTech Association of Malaysia. I will touch on a few very interesting fintech verticals in Malaysia, just to give you a flavor what is happening in some of the few key landscape and what are some of the opportunities that I would strongly encourage you to think about to take advantage of and to leverage on this hackathon process to potentially turn your ideation into real business. So the insurtech industry globally has been flourishing, especially in last year. A total of more than 60 billion ringgit of funding has been raised globally in 2021. And today, yes, we are seeing a slowdown in global funding activity. However, the funding levels still hold steady in second quarter of 2022 for InsurTech. And I'm also seeing a lot more VCs, family offices, and listed companies have started investing into InsurTechs in Malaysia. Case in point, my company, Policy Street, we are invested by very leading investors such as Gobi Partners, who is a leading pan-Asia VC. They have close to $2 billion asset under management just for startup investment. They have 9 unicorns under their belt, from the likes of Carsum to Prenetics to WeLabs in Indonesia to GoGoX in Hong Kong, and a lot more. We're also backed by Altara Ventures, which is a leading PE/VC in Singapore, led by Mr. Koo Boon Hui, who is the board member of GIC in Singapore, former chairman of Singtel, SIA, and many more. And it's worthwhile to mention we are also invested by a family office, Tan Sri Leong and the family from the listed property group, Masin Group. They also invested in Policy Street. And we are also backed by a co-investment fund of Malaysia, facilitated by SC and also MOF. So this is a true testimony of there are a lot more investors investing into insurtechs in Malaysia. So this space will continue to grow. And of course, there will be a lot of innovation being propelled and advanced by the incumbents as well. And to me, I believe in a hybrid model. I believe in creating a marketplace, a landscape which can flourish together for both startups, newcomers, and incumbents. So today, for fire insurance, for motor insurance, there is a phase 2A, phase 2B, phase liberalization. There is a transition to market-based pricing, whereby there will be more affordable access to basic protection and improved transparency. 2 weeks ago, I hosted another roundtable at Bank Negara with the presence of Assistant Governor and Director of the Financial Development Innovation team, whereby we facilitated an industry session with all C-levels of general insurers, and we also hosted 4 tech companies to do presentation on the digital motor claims ecosystem. So if you were to refer to page 73 of the financial sector blueprint, there is a tremendous focus on the vision of the digital motor claims. For example, next time when you get hit by a car, touch wood, you get into a car accident, you don't have to just call the towing number. You will be able to use your app, use your mobile, use technology to know how and where to send your car to the nearest workshop. What is the expected claim for your car damages? When are you able to get your car back? So everything will be digitalized with the intent to bring down costs and also to increase transparency. And in terms of opportunities, I think I've touched about it, so I won't bore you with that. I'll jump into the Islamic fintech landscape. So last week itself, because I think this is quite relevant to today's participants as well. Bank Negara SC has set up a new council to position Malaysia as a global Islamic financial center. So this was announced last week, whereby there will be more consolidated and concerted effort to drive Islamic fintech development in Malaysia. And of course, from an association perspective, I've pushed for closer ties and partnership with key association and industry partners. For example, last month, we signed an MOU with Malaysia Takafu Association to drive better fintech adoption among Takafu insurers and also Islamic insurance players in Malaysia. And as you can see, these are some of the Malaysian Islamic fintechs. You may have heard of names such as Microleap, PayHala, Atis, whereby they also facilitate Sharia compliant or Islamic fintech. And next, I'll touch a little bit about the consumer credit landscape, the one that I mentioned before. So today, I would say that the entire landscape in Malaysia is pretty fragmented. Of course, you have Bank Negara regulating the banks and the insurers, and most of the financial services related sectors. You have SC, which is very clear. They regulate capital market related activities. However, there are also a lot of shadow banking and alternative financing players in the market, which are not governed directly under these two key regulators. For example, your money lending. For example, your money lending is actually governed by under the purview of Ministry of Housing and Local Government (KPKT). Your hire purchase is governed by Ministry of Trade and Consumer Affairs. Your Cooperative Societies Act, your cooperatives, is governed by Malaysia Cooperative Societies Commission. So there are different players who are governing or previewing different legislations, and this is where our regulators or authorities come together to set up CCOB, which is to tie in all consumer credit related activities to be governed under this new commission or this new board, which is collectively set up by Bank Negara, SC, and also by these ministries. So the phase one is under implementation currently. This is where the buy now pay later providers, BNPL companies, are also being formed under this commission. So the FinTech Association is also working on certain initiatives which I will share. The phase two will also include hire purchase companies, credit sales providers, money lenders, even the pawn brokers. All these pawn shops at the market, they will be also regulated under CCOB. This is a very important landscape improvement and enhancement in Malaysia as a whole. So consumer credit landscape, this will be formulated, and this is how it will be looking like, whereby CCOB, which is the Consumer Credit Operating Oversight Board, which will be set up to regulate and govern the consumer credit or consumer finance related activities. And at the FAOM side, following the recent issuance of the consultation paper, we have taken the initiative to set up a CCOB / Buy Now Pay Later subcommittee. We brought in more than 10 BNPL players, the likes of Grab BNPL, the likes of Hola, the likes of Atomy, and many others to come together to really discuss what are the operational challenges, what are the collective feedback that we are able to give to Bank Negara in a very meaningful manner. So today we are unifying the BNPL operators under FAOM, and we want to safeguard the rights and interests of BNPL providers in Malaysia because after all, FAOM, we represent the voice of industry. Next, I'll talk about digital banking landscape before I wrap it off to go into Q&A with the next few slides. Digital banking landscape, I think, is very interesting. 5 digital banking applicants have been licensed. 3 are conventional, 2 are Islamic. So you have the consortium led by CAF and also the consortium led by Aeon. These are the Islamic players, Islamic digital banks player. Whereas for Shopee, for Boost, RHB, and Grab, these are the conventional players. They are given up to 12 to 24 months to operationalize their business. So it will be very exciting to see how digital banking landscape is being shaped with these 5 new entrants and players. If you were to refer back to the digital banking framework, it is very interesting because there was a very specific focus whereby these digital banks have to serve the underserved and also the underpenetrated segments. And last but not least, another important vertical that I will urge all of you to pay close attention will be on payment. As I say, the world is flat. The region is going to be more consolidated. Is to be more closely tied together. When you think about building your business, when you think about your business model, you should not just focus in Malaysia alone. You shouldn't just focus in your home market alone. You should also skill and develop and design your business to be scalable regionally, And one of these is the payment landscape, whereby our regulators, industry players are also participating in cross-border projects with counterparts in Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, and many more to enable faster, cheaper cross-border payments. So today, uh, before COVID, right, it could be still pretty tedious if you were to facilitate payment in a different market. You can use credit card, but there's high translation fee and whatnot. Your e-wallet can only be used specifically in Malaysia, but this is going to change in the next 12 months, if not shorter. So all in all, I will stop my presentation based on the slides here. But what I would like to do is to open up the floor to answer any Q&A that you may have, and happy to hear input from the rest of the team as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Wilson, for the great presentation. So we have a couple of questions here. So we have a few revolving around the same theme, right? About what the greatest barrier for fintech is when it comes to startups or even fintech in general, right, in Malaysia.
Yep, sure. I think there are a couple of barriers for fintech in Malaysia. To me, the you have to look at barriers from different perspective, whether from the supply perspective or on the demand perspective. In terms of the supply perspective, I would say that the barrier is really in having a proper and deep understanding on regulations. Because for fintech innovation, you can't just be going out to the market to start anything that you want to, because certain services, certain functions, certain activities are regulated. And if you were to do that, if you were to cross the line without having the necessary license, you are in fact crossing the line, and this is illegal. Having said that, this is where important avenues such as hackathon session like this, important avenues such as the Bank Negara sandbox, or even the national industry sandbox will be important to facilitate trial and testing under a defined environment for new innovations to flourish. In my opinion, we should not curb innovation. We should encourage innovation by putting in place necessary control. And I believe in data, right? Eventually, it's about how closely you track and measure the data. And from the data, you'll be able to understand whether your proposition work, whether it may pose any instability to the market as a whole. So this is more on supply in terms of potential barrier. I think for demand, the barrier is really about financial literacy. I'm a big proponent and a big believer in financial literacy. And I think our education system has to be overhauled, has to be enhanced, because we go through 11, 12 years of formative education, but we were not really taught in terms of how do we manage our finances. We were not really taught in terms of how do we leverage on fintech to plan our financial better. We were not really taught in terms of planning for our first home, planning for our first vehicle, planning for families. So I believe the great adoption of fintech has to come from financial education and financial literacy. Once we have a strong middle class, once we have a strong even the B40 segment who understand the importance of financial literacy and financial services, this is where there will be greater adoption of financial services, fintech solutions, and many more. Thanks, DC, for your question.
All right, thank you so much, Wilson, for that. So, speaking of challenges, we have another question here from Calvin about challenges of when starting InsurTech, right? What are the greatest hurdles you had when starting your own InsurTech company?
Many. There were so many hurdles, Kelvin. And we started together with my co-founders, started Policy Street in early 2017. All of us came from corporate background. I came from investment banking, and the bonuses were great. I get promoted almost on an annual basis, and it was a very I would say if I were to stay and I work hard, I will be comfortable. Same goes to my two other co-founders. One of them was the a director of an international bank, quite senior, having spent close to 20 years in a corporate career. And another one was an actuary by training in the largest general insurer in town. So I think the first hurdle was, if I were to relate back to the audience, right? When you were to start a business, you must understand and you must answer these two questions very clearly. Number one, what is your purpose? Why do you ever want to start a startup? Why do you ever want to uh, potentially address problems in this market? What is your purpose? I think you must ask this question deeply, and you must have the answer, because if you don't have the answer, you will be swayed easily. And if I do not have the answer, I don't think I will be able to survive and continue strong after 6 years starting this company. So you must know what is your purpose of starting a fintech company, a startup. Are you very excited to solve a certain particular problem? After all, startup is meant to solve problem and add values. Are you truly believing in the mission and vision of the company that you are starting? I think that is number one that you have to really overcome in terms of the hurdle. Number two is really having the right team, especially having the right founding team is crucial. You must have people who can work complementing your skill sets. You must have founding team members who have similar values with you, because what I realized is that the approach can be different, because everyone has different approach, right? You know, this guy, your friend works in a certain manner, your other colleague works in a certain manner. You all believe in a different thing when it comes to approach. But as long as the mission and vision and value, the value system has to be similar. Three of us, I would say that we share similar value system. We are very pragmatic. We are down to earth. We are very result and performance driven. We back each other up. We know the success of a company is not for our own glory, right? Is for greater glory. It's also not for our personal branding, because the success of a company would result in whatever branding and exposure that you want to have. Just like Steve Jobs, right? He's known globally. Bill Gates is known globally. Jack Ma is known globally, not because of who Jack Ma is. It's because of the success and the impact, more importantly, that he has brought to the market. To me, I see this question as a larger questions, right? What are the two key things that you have to establish before you start any tech business? I would say number one, understand your why, your purpose. Ask yourself regularly. If your purpose is just to make money, I think you better think twice, because you can still make money if you join corporate, and the pressure and the stress and also the commitment to deliver as a venture funded startup or company is very high. Secondly is again having the right partners and founding members with the right values.
Thank you so much, Wilson, for that. Hope that motivates or encourages aspiring fintech and insurtech founders out there. Moving on, we have another question from Chintak here. How do you see the impact to fintech from the IEO platform that was recently announced by Securities Commission?
Sure. I think the initial exchange offering, SC has given two licenses to two players. One is Pitchin, another is Capital DX. I see this as a very positive development in Malaysia, because these registered IOs are providing an alternative avenue for eligible companies to raise funds via the issuance of digital tokens in Malaysia. And these issuers are able to raise up to 100 million ringgit from market. So this is actually quite substantial and significant, because 100 million ringgit is not small sum. Some of the listing exercises in Malaysia would be able to raise a much more a smaller amount compared to 100 million ringgit. So I would say that this is definitely a great impact. I'm very excited to see the full implementation of these IO platforms in Malaysia.
Thank you, Wilson, for that. Moving on to our next question from Azmi. Recently, there has been a surge in cases of scamming in the industry. Uh, this puts a scare to the market and users to easily venture into the many services fintech have to offer. Is any activity being done by the Fintech Association of Malaysia?
Yes, thanks Azmi for these very important questions. I think there are a lot more scams, phishing activities, and even leakages in terms of data breach in cybersecurity. So, as an association, we take heavy concern for all these activities. And what we have done is to create more awareness with our members to ensure that they put in place proper structure to ring fence and also defend their cybersecurity in a more stronger manner. So this is what we have done at the awareness level, and we are hoping to be able to work with the relevant partners to also propel better insights and also to also offer better solutions to help some of our fintech members when it comes to ring fencing the entire cybersecurity and also to ensure that scamming is reduced. So this is on one part. The second part, I think, is more on scamming from the perspective of products, right? You have people going out to say, look, I'm a fintech player. If you put in money on my fintech platform, you are able to generate 100 times return in 1 month, in 3 months. So this all leads back to financial literacy. I think this month is also the financial literacy month with Bank Negara. FAOM is also supporting this initiative, and this truly boils down to the financial literacy that I spoke about. And we are here as an association to look out for more partners, whether it's Jewel Digital Ventures, ASNB, whether it's Pewarisan or other companies or other organizations. We definitely are here to propel and spur more financial literacy awareness in Malaysia.
Thank you so much, Wilson. Moving on, we have our next question on DeFi. What is your opinion about DeFi for Malaysia?
Well, thanks, Sajuan. Opinion about DeFi for Malaysia. Not too sure what you are referring to about the questions. Let me take on in this manner. I think decentralized finance is definitely something very interesting, whereby with the blockchain technology, financial services are able to be decentralized, and it may be enabling a more efficient, a more seamless, and a faster financial services for the market as a whole. But of course, I think it will be interesting to see more use cases for DeFi in Malaysia. So far, I don't see many yet in the mainstream for at least in Malaysia. But if there are more DeFi use cases with measured track record that can be showcased to the market, this will be definitely more exciting and interesting.
Thank you for that, Wilson. We also have a couple of questions on regulatory matters. So, one here by Dave. What if the fintech solution is lapsing with a few regulators or authorities?
Hey, Dave, my good friend. Dave is from Home Crop. How if the fintech solution lapsing with few regulators? How if okay. So I think this requires constant and involving communication with the regulators. For example, let's say you run a group of companies. You may have certain businesses which are governed by Bank Negara. You may have certain businesses which are governed by SC. And now with the oversight consumer credit board, potentially there are a group of fintech companies which may have to engage with different regulators. However, for in my opinion, I think what is important is for the fintech operator to really understand the parameters of the regulations and also to put in place proper structure to have the right compliance officer, to have the right regulatory officer when it comes to dealing with different authorities. Because after all, it takes two hands to clap, for the fintech operator and also for regulators as well.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Wilson.
perhaps we can wrap up with the one last question.
Yes, I think one last question here. Just to wrap all of this out, what is your vision for fintech and insurtech in Malaysia?
Uh, thanks, Joshua. My vision is for fintech and insurtech to be truly gone to be truly going mainstream, whereby when a consumer like yourself look into a financial service or look for insurance, there is no demarcations or difference between whether you get it from an insurer, whether you come from an insurtech company, because these are part and parcels of the overall offering from the industry. So that just like how, if I were to use the analogy of Maybank, right? Um, my parents' generation, when they think about Maybank, they think about the brick and mortar banking branch of Maybank. And Maybank has close to 400 branches. They used to have even more. And today, when you think about Maybank, for our generations, I believe the first that comes to mind will be Maybank to you, the online platform, right? So banking in its substance has not changed, but the form has changed, the approach has changed. So for my vision is to have fintech and insurtech to be integrated, to be embedded into our entire financial services industry, whereby there's no difference whether you are going for a fintech service or insurtech service or product, because it's not a matter of having a tag in it or not. It's the matter of having the right product proposition to serve the audience and the user in a meaningful manner. So this will be my vision for fintech and insurtech in Malaysia. Yeah. So with that, thank you so much for. I see that there are more than 100 people in the session. Thank you so much for your attention and for your time. Happy to stay connected with all of you via LinkedIn. I can be connected on LinkedIn with my name, and happy to also engage with all of you after the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wilson, for taking time off your busy schedule and also for the insightful session today, as well as all the amazing initiatives by FAOM and Policy Street to further propel our Malaysian fintech scene. And I'm sure that all participants have also benefited from the session. Thank you so much once again, Wilson. All right, to all the hackathon participants, we will see you later again for our second webinar in the afternoon on the topic of accelerating the growth of digital economy in Malaysia by Tengku Arif Mubin, who is the lead of FinTech, Accelerator and Venture Building at the Malaysian Digital Economy Corporation. All right, so stay tuned and see all of you later at 2 p.m. for our next session. Bye, everyone.